Oh, that was the short version of the intro.
Yeah. Did you think we had the full 5 minutes?
My other window just hanging out, looking tweet to retweet. Nice. All right. Good morning. Actually, in Singapore, it is morning. How is your? Oh, it's also morning for you, isn't it, John?
Yeah, it's morning. It's just it's about 8 a.m. for you, but it's a very polite 10 a.m. here in Melbourne, Australia.
Nice. Did you get to watch the Melbourne JS last night?
Yeah, I did. Yes, Couples talk was excellent. The Dino talk was excellent.
Yeah,
and then
I loved. I learned about the Dockland. What was it? Bitcoin Real. Yeah. Good morning. No, I think it was doc.dino.land.
Yeah.
And actually during the meetup, I made like a cheeky PR because I saw like if you pull that up. Actually, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah.
So what it does, Ines, nice. Ines is back. Good morning.
Ines, every stream. Good job.
So, good morning. Oh, nice. We actually have a bunch of folks. It's 3 a.m. here in Saudi Arabia. Well, thank you very much. That sounds like early morning or late at night, whatever you.
Yeah. Either. Yeah.
I'm actually coming to visit. Oh well, no. I mean, I'm coming to visit UAE. I'm going to Dubai in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
So not Saudi Arabia, but well, I mean, what's the definition? Oh, I should brush up on my geography.
What's happening in Dubai?
Just kind of checking it out. Friend moved there. I think some folks are actually like in the open source community. The engineer behind Chakra UI is over there, and
Nice.
so maybe we'll just do a little impromptu Supabase meetup. We'll see. But yeah, so this is really cool. Kind of, I think, built with like WebAssembly and stuff. And yeah, so if you scroll down, I saw there was like Firebase in that list, and I was like, if there's Firebase, there probably should be Supabase. And so I just opened, like during the meetup, I just opened a PR, and it's like, okay, cheeky bit of self-promotion, feel free to silent close. But they actually merged it in, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, so this is nice. It's basically just takes it's kind of like TypeDoc, but on the fly.
Right.
And it just takes all the type definitions and all the TypeDoc annotations and just visualizes it on the fly. So you can take any sort of ESM module, anything that's sort of published, say to esm.sh, put it in there, and you get a documentation on the page, which is really nice. So yeah, if you click on the Supabase JS, you can click on the create client, and then see kind of the definition, creates a new Supabase client, so you can click through on these. Yeah.
Very cool.
Pretty cool.
It's yeah, you didn't want to bump this one up above here, or maybe like.
Well, I think there was like some. Well, I guess there wasn't an alphabetical order really, but I felt it's okay. Let's do the hierarchy by age or what have you. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. And we got other people joining us for the morning, which is good. Adam, we got Jacob. Hello from Arizona. Ooh,
It's
what time is
pretty
it?
late now, getting now, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 8 p.m. ish. Sweet.
And yeah, lots of friends in UAE. Awesome. So what are we building today, Thor?
What are we building? Yeah, so actually, the Supabase auth helpers, I think now just called auth helpers. Yeah, so if you didn't know about these, maybe actually we should put them in the chat. That's a good point. Let's put that. Very much inspired by the Next Auth 0 open source library, which kind of helps you with sort of Next.js things with Auth 0, and lots of good stuff in there. Really great developer experience with the higher order functions for with page auth, with API auth, kind of all these things. And especially we found that if you know kind of the Supabase stack, so we're using Netlify's go-through server for kind of JWT management, and then go-through.js for interacting with your go-through server. And the way that works with go-through, and because sort of Netlify kind of static hosting, Jamstack hosting, very much built sort of for the client only, the SPA applications, all that stuff. So the way they sort of implemented the session storage is with kind of local storage. And so, if you're familiar with kind of how Supabase Auth works, then we store kind of the JWT in local storage with like go through JS, and sync that across tabs and kind of refresh it on the client and all of that. But if you then work with Next.js and you want to do server-side rendering and API routes and kind of all that server jazz, now the server doesn't have access to local storage, right? And so when you render things on the server at that time, then you don't have the JWT. So which means that you kind of have to go back, render the client first, access the local storage, send the JWT up to the server, and then do server-side rendering, right? And that's all a bit janky. So the auth helpers, what they do is basically move that token management to the server side into cookies. So secure HTTP only server-side cookies. And since kind of go-through runs on, so the authentication server runs on the Supabase domain that we host for you. Of course, if you self-host, you might be able to do this where it runs all on the same domain, and then you can actually have go-through set the cookies on your application domain. But in most scenarios, we can't set the go-through token on your domain, and so that's why we given you kind of these API routes that help you kind of set the tokens, manage the tokens, refresh the tokens from the cookies on the server side. And so, yeah, I think we have Next.js, which kind of I started out initially, and just very sort of the setup wasn't great, the build setup, and then Andrew actually did a great rework of this with Turbo Repo, I believe. So Jared Palmer's now sort of Vercel's, I guess, by acquisition, Turbo Repo. I actually really enjoyed the episode with Jared on syntax. I think that was really neat. I'd recommend listening to that. I think it's
yeah. Turbo Repo sounds like it's solving those kind of big problems that big fully scaled large companies like the Googles and the Facebooks of the world, taking like a solution to the kinds of problems that they have at scale and providing it in a much easier format for just regular side projects that might end up getting that big, which is very cool. So so this is what the Next.js auth helpers are. So this is just one of the pages for profile. So this is where the user can see their profile. And because this would require a user to exist to be able to see their profile, we bring in this with page auth hook from auth helpers Next.js. And so this is kind of what we'll be looking at building for Remix. And so if we wrap the call to get server-side props, so we say get server-side props is equal to, and we call that with page auth function. And then in this case, we actually are saying auth required false. So we don't necessarily need there to be a user.
Yeah, so I think that was an interesting feature request, because by default, sort of, if you don't provide that auth required false, with page auth will redirect away from that page. We'll never actually render it because the user doesn't exist. But there are scenarios where you might actually not want that redirect. So you can say auth required false, which then just means the user is null in the props that are handed to the component that's rendered. So if you scroll up, I think I basically then just edit the check if user, and I think otherwise I just return an error.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. And so then an example of where auth is absolutely required is this protected page. And so if we just wrap get server-side props in a call to this function without passing auth required false, I'm assuming auth required is by default true, meaning that this will automatically redirect to the login page.
And then you can see here there's a redirect to, so you can also specify if you want to go to the home page or the sign-in page or what have you. By default, I think it just goes to the home page.
So this and then you can is if they're not currently signed in, or if they don't have a valid session, this is where they will be redirected to if they're not allowed to visit the page. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. And then the get server-side props is pretty neat, right? Because normally you have some server-side props function where you maybe fetch some data on, in your actually server rendering, which is kind of the whole point of the server-side props. And so what you can actually do here is as well fetch some data, for example, from Supabase, from your database, and by passing in the context of the request, and that context, that request has the cookie. The library for you can create the Supabase server client with the context, which will then read out the cookie, find the JWT, set the authentication context for you, so all that stuff. And then you can do an authenticated call to your database and basically do this return props data, which you're used to with Next.js. And then we just merge together all the props. So the data will be hydrated in there, the user, all of that. So that's pretty neat.
That's very cool. So the reason we need this is because, as you were saying before, the stuff, the JWT and everything is stored in local storage, which isn't available when the server is doing that initial render of the page, and also not available when the server is doing things like calling get server-side props when the user is requesting the page. And so, yeah, if you've used Supabase entirely client-side, then everything just magically works. But as soon as you need to introduce any kind of server stuff, because we're storing, or because Netlify's GoTrue implementation stores things on in local storage, there's no way for the server to reach in and grab that. So if you have jumped through those hoops before, you've probably either had to implement your own cookie that gets created and attached to every request to the server, or potentially just sidestepped RLS entirely on the server when you've gone to get records, you're getting frustrated and you just decide to use the service role key to sidestep all of the RLS stuff on the server. So auth helpers are kind of designed to try and make the server-side interactions with Supabase as clean and simple as the client-side interactions.
Yeah, sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, I think if anyone has questions on that, as always, just drop them in the chat and we'll pick them up along the way. But yeah, maybe now as a next step, do you want to clone down the repo and actually try like setting everything up with Turbo and PNPM? And I believe we have Andrew kind of included a section sort of in the README what to do, but probably we should actually include like a contributing ND and kind of all the community health files and stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
I think, John, your Wi-Fi is a bit spotty. I don't know if there's anyone in the parliament you can call, but
is the screen that I'm sharing not refreshing quickly enough?
yeah, it is a bit choppy. But now it's a bit better. I think Australia, we need to
move me somewhere else.
Yeah, come to Singapore, man.
Yeah, let's just run a really long Ethernet cable from Singapore, and it'll be fine.
Nice.
You can okay, so
enjoy the free sauna all year round.
So before we begin, we need to have the following set up. So I do have Node installed. I should check actually that it's great. I would hope it is. Node-v. Yep, 16.15. Only just over 16. So yeah, make sure you install that. Install PNPM. I don't think I actually have installed PNPM.
I think there's a brew. Is there a brew for it?
Yes. Yeah. But let's just check that I might actually have it. Nope. All right. Let's install that with brew.
So and actually, I don't really know what PNPM. Maybe we should Google it. I think it's just, fast disk space efficient package manager.
Okay. So I think it's a way to, so that, yeah, it's kind of the thing that allows you to cache all of the packages behind NPM, right? So if you have multiple applications using the same package, there's no point in going and fetching that again from NPM. And so I think it caches and creating a non-flat node modules directory. Let's go with that. That's what it does. But this working with Turborepo is what allows you to share packages across all of the different repos that sit within your monorepo, or all the different applications that sit within your monorepo. So you could have multiple applications. You could have one Next.js app. You could have a Flutter app. You could have like a web server and a whole bunch of maybe a Postgres database or something. All these different packages running within the same monorepo, and then Turborepo allows you to share packages across all of those different apps that you have in one monorepo. And now that we've installed enough, that should be installed, which it is. I don't think there were any big scary errors. Yeah,
nice. I like that they just called it performant npm.
Performant npm. So now let's make sure that I have that installed. Sweet. And so install package dependencies. So yeah, so PNPM, basically you swap out your npm statements for PNPM. So if you need to install a package, you use PNPM instead of npm. If you need to update a package or anything like that, PNPM is what you're using to interface with your node modules packages. So that's gonna, cool, install a whole bunch of stuff.
Nice.
We then do PNPM dev.
I think you might have to build first, actually, because I think the dependencies, we probably should switch that around, because
let's see,
the dev stuff has dependencies to the build stuff, right?
Yeah, just errored. All right, we should swap that around. Let's build first. And then we will run the dev script. Cool. And that's looking good. So it looks like we have...
we got a PNPM fan here in homie coder. Pretty smooth. Linking pretty fast and lighter. Yeah, Sounds nice. Yeah, so PNPM, I think like if you look into the package JSON file, you can see kind of the scripts. It basically, yeah, so the build basically just turbo run build, which then means it runs all the build for all the packages, I believe. And then turbo run build example basically means just running the build for the example package. And then I think if there's like a turbo.json file, which kind of defines the packages.
This one, the output. No, that's the build.
Turbo.json. Oh, maybe the packages are actually defined in the package JSON itself. Is there a packages object in there?
No.
Okay.
In the PNPM workspace.yaml.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then packages workspace. Okay.
So that would be these two folders, right? So we've got our examples. So these are the example applications for actually using these auth helpers. So if you need an example for how this works with Next.js or how this works with SvelteKit, or hopefully once we get these Remix auth helpers implemented, then how you would do it in Remix. And we've also got packages. And so are these the packages that are built that are shared across those different examples or across the?
So basically, I think the config one, actually not sure if you click into that, need to remember what that actually does. I think it just has so it just has the next React. So that's a good question. Okay, I'll need to check with Andrew what that actually does. But then yeah, so we have the React, and the React one basically just has the user provider. So anything that's kind of pure React, not tied to Next.js. And actually, we want to basically use the React stuff in Remix as well, right? Because Remix is React. So for all the kind of the client side user provider, and the user provider has like a user hook, which basically just kind of fetches the stuff from the server. So the idea is that, for all the different server frameworks, we kind of do, what do? We basically just fetch kind of the tokens and all that. And then, for the server, for the all the server frameworks, we just provide the same schema of API routes. And then the client user provider can basically just always call the same backend routes, and no matter which kind of React framework you're using. So we should be able to reuse that for Remix, and then basically just implement the auth routes for the background. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So where do we want to start, Thor? We can collapse all this down.
Yeah. So I think maybe we can probably, I'm not sure how similar Remix and Next.js are, but I guess what we could do is just copy the Next.js folder, duplicate it, call it Remix, and then remix it. Is that what people do, or
that's what they
or
do?
do you think we just
do you mean this
create a
examples
new...
folder, or do you mean
No, I mean the package. Yeah,
the package folder?
and then basically just change all these over to be remix.
Yeah, let's do that. So it looks like this stuff is all generated stuff. So we probably just want source.
Yeah, all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Cool.
6.
Well, how about we just duplicate this one, paste it back here.
Oh yeah, I just realized that way. Someone said, and I thought that was nice because I actually didn't know that either.
Yeah, this button
Collapse
is
all
magic.
button in.
Collapse all folders in Explorer. So yeah, that's the
Like,
panic.
Go back to the start.
Yeah, let's just bail out of here. Close everything. Yeah, it's a good one. So in our remix folder, I'm just going to get rid of this and this and this. You reckon?
Yeah, just delete it. Yeah.
Go on. The change log, we probably want to change this to remix, or does this get generated automatically?
Yeah, I think that gets generated. I'm not sure if we need the empty file. Yeah, I think that should be fine. Probably just delete all the content and just keep the header.
All
right. The headline. I mean, yeah.
Package.json. We should just do a find and replace for Next.js to remix, and then the whole thing will just work, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably how it works.
Cool. That's all.
Isn't there this AI coder thing now? Like, can't you just rename and then AI realizes, okay, this should be remix now?
What do these keywords actually do? I've always like had them there, but I've never looked into what they actually.
Is it? I think SEO on NPM, maybe on the NPM website.
So search keywords for when you're using their actual.
I think so.
Okay. All right. That checks out. So they're all good. So then we have our dev dependencies. So I'm assuming this is where we would have remix.
Yeah.
Okay. So we probably need to work out what the latest version of remix is. So I'm just going to quickly.
We can probably just do the pnpm. So if you cd into your remix folder, and then you can probably just do pnpm add or pnpm install remix, or whatever you do for remixy things.
npm, and then we'll say install remix at latest, I think is usually.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
I assume that means things are working well. All right, cool. So it's updated.
And then you can probably do pnpm remove next or uninstall.
Install, yeah.
I always get it mixed up with my yarn.
So we got remix, we've got rid of next, and everything else I think we need. Pretty
Is
sure.
next still in there?
No, sorry, that was just me scrolling up. So if we look at our actual package.json and we don't save what we had open, yeah, we can see remixes there. Oh, should this be a dev dependency though?
Yeah, I believe so, because you're having it anyway. Yeah. Okay.
How about we just do this using the tool just so that we don't break anything? So it would be
maybe uninstall.
Sorry?
Do we need to uninstall it first, or
uninstalled remix?
And
now I'm going to install as a dev dependency remix. Awesome. So that's in dev dependencies now. And if we have a look here, we have remix. We no longer have next, and our dependencies are just those shared headers. README, need some remix here and some remix here. For remix applications. And
This is literally remixing things.
remix greater than or equal to 1.5.1.
Okay, homie code, I got a question. What is it? I got here late. Just wondering why not npx create remix? Oh, because right now we're actually not creating a remix application, but rather we're creating a library that will be used in your remix application. So we're actually just having remix as a dev dependency while we're developing. But I think in order to create the example, so like in our examples folder, we can probably then do the npx create remix, right?
Yeah, good call. Yeah, we're remixing the OG way. the slowly work your way through and find every mention the remix. That's the old school remix. I'm just gonna correct some spelling while I'm here. So set up the following vars. In remix, we just do a .env because there's no way to not. We just do a .env. That's what's loaded in by default instead of env.local. So we will create an env.example file in our remix folder. We'll keep these the same so that we can reuse functionality across those shared packages. I'm assuming that creating a client with Supabase expects these particular.
Well, the thing is, it probably shouldn't be next public, right? Like for remix, is there like a public namespace, or like I think create React app has it? You need to call it React underscore or something.
So this is where these two paths diverge. Is remix doesn't have a way of exposing environment variables directly to the client side stuff. So .env is loaded in by default. So all of those environment variables are available on the server side. But if you want to be available to the client, so make them available to React components running on the front end, then you just need to manually pipe them through yourself. So usually you will set up, so if you want to access these environment variables on the server, it's the same as Next.js or probably Svelte, where you've got like process.env. Whatever it is. So let's say Supabase URL. So then if you want to make that available on the client, you need to pipe that through from one of your server-side bits that has access to that. And then the way that you usually do it is just pipe those through from your loader on the rootmost thing. So what wraps your entire application. So what would be like underscore app.js in a Next.js app. In there, you read those values from .env, and then you would attach them to like the window object, for example. So then you would have window.env.supabase URL if you were on the client, and process.env.supabase URL if you're on the server. So that might we'll deal with that when we get there. So we just call it Supabase anon key and Supabase URL.
Nice.
Cool. Create an auth directory in. This is interesting as well. So remix, you would create. If we want to separate these as just like serverless functions, so like what you would do with your API folder in your pages directory in Next.js. So for anyone that doesn't know, these will automatically be turned into serverless functions. So you can do a similar thing with remix. You would just declare them as routes, and you just wouldn't define a component. So if you just have a loader or an action, basically it turns it into a serverless function. But if you define a component, then it turns it into like a route for your application that you can navigate to.
So
maybe
I think the important piece is that it will be reachable at like /API/auth
Yeah.
Slash fragment. So we have basically API slash auth slash callback, API slash auth slash user, API slash auth slash some things. Does Remix have kind of this ability to do like fragments? You know how like so with Next.js, so basically this dot 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 spread in the brackets.
Like a
With this
catch-all route.
catch all, and maybe it's not called fragments. What is it called?
Yeah, I think it's just a catch-all route.
Yeah.
They do catch all remix route. Yeah, there is a way to do it. But yes, we can look into that when we get there. Catch all. Yeah. We'll find it when we need it, but there is a way to do it. All right. So maybe we should not worry about just going through this whole README file and updating all of the different steps. I might just add like a to-do back to here. And yeah, I can fill out a README off stream. That seems more fun for the people viewing. Yeah, cool. So route. So when you're defining the route /path /whatever, and then just /star, we'll catch all of those things, and then you can tell it which route you would like to send those to, or which component you'd like to send those to. Homie Cody, you are going to save us. I'm glad that there is someone in the chat with a lot of remix.
I think we found our remix contributor.
Yeah, that's right. You can join us next week for continuing building out these auth helpers where we can actually get them implemented. Okay, cool. So then we have a tsconfig.json. I don't see any words that say Next.js in there. And tsup config.
Yeah. The only thing is maybe with middleware, does Remix have the concept of middleware? Otherwise, we can just slash that out for now. Like edge functions, I think.
No.
Because, right, like Next has this where you put things in the middleware, they deploy it as Cloudflare workers, something like that.
Right.
So let's just get rid of that.
Yeah. Let's go
on. Oh, I like that. Just hanging with the homies.
Homie Coder and the homies. That's what we should call the next stream.
I have a feeling this is just Alistair with just with an alias. He felt left out.
All right.
Homie Coder, which part of the world are you in? Okay, tsub. Yeah, and then again, entry points, we can remove the middleware.
And this, I'm assuming, needs to be...
I guess we have like AWS Amplify. I guess Andrew also was lending a hand somewhere. Because the call out to AWS Amplify makes me think that...
Yep.
Maybe we should remove that.
But what if it needs to be there? Maybe this whole thing runs on AWS behind the scenes. AWS Amplify. All right, cool. So that should be it for the changes that we need to make here. Obviously, the big thing we need to work through is in this source folder, we have all of the actual functions that we're going to need to modify and make work for Remix.
Yeah.
We can get rid of this middleware folder.
Yeah, chuck that out.
So we don't actually need this, though. This was just if you have middleware. Oh, okay, so it can do like refreshing auth in the edge function instead of needing to.
In the edge, exactly. Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah. I just need to get better at the whole middleware stuff because it just throws everything off where like you can't use any dependencies. I mean, it's nice, right? Because it kind of forces you to go lean, no dependencies, just functionality. But also, it makes things a bit more challenging.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's gone. Complexity be gone.
Yeah, check it out.
All right. So do we want to start with handlers or utils?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think maybe let's have a look at the utils. Because they are just kind of pure. There is a yarn add remix middleware. Okay, let's not worry about the middleware for now. Let's get things working without the middleware. So let me see.
I love this comment. Just Alistair or Alistair, I can't remember. He can actually code, implying that the
That's
rest of us
something that
can't,
Alistair would say.
It would be, yeah. I agree that Alistair is definitely the one who knows the most out of all of us. It's fine. All right,
I
cool.
mean that's why we hire them, right? Like
Exactly.
always
Well, yeah,
hire
actually
people smarter than you.
and that all started from a stream that we were
So
doing.
smart.
Me and you were building the advent calendar for leading up to the end of the year, and Alistair helped us out, kind of like how Homie Coder is helping us out right now.
Yeah,
And we hooked Alistair up with a job, so make this a smooth process, and you get hired. All right,
okay.
cool.
So I think you can probably look at. Yeah, so I think these are just functions that basically take in response. No, how do you say it? Request response objects, and then do stuff. And so I think we can probably start there. Like these should be because they are. If we just check out the next API request, next API response sort of stuff.
Do you mean
And
because these are just types, right? So we can
and then get the like request response types from Remix and remix it. Does Remix have sort of the difference in terms of API routes versus server-side rendered? Because so like in Next.js, the context is a little different for those. But I think for Remix, it's just request response.
Yeah, so you have loader functions and you have actions. And so loaders get called on GET requests and actions get called on all other types of requests. If you have a component defined, then what you return be available in your component. But then it will just give you back the response as like if you return JSON or whatever, it will just be like making a request to a JSON API. So there isn't a concept of those things being separate. Yeah. So, right, as in the request and the response. So you just have a request and then you create, you build up your own response that you want to send back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we have loader functions and we have action functions, as Adam just called out. So they would be the types for the two different types of functions. I just don't know why my autocomplete is not working, and it's probably going to make this very painful. It does not have an exported member loader function. Damn TypeScript.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to figure out. So the where do we get the request and response loader request? Just the types for the request and response.
Yeah, so there wouldn't be a response object. So the response object doesn't get passed into as a parameter to the loader or the action. You just have a request, and then you create a new response object, and that's what you return from either your loader or your action. So yeah, so I guess if this is doing some magic with the response.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where, because, where are the types coming from? Like somewhere in Remix, like in the documentation, they basically just say request of type request, but they never import the request from anywhere. So I think that's can you does Remix just import a capital title case request object? Can you check?
Yeah, no, I tried that. It did not like it. Remix not set up error. That could be.
So I think it's Remix. Is it Remix /node? Because the server-side stuff runs on Remix run /node. Is that it? Or Remix server? Oh, Jesus.
How about we have a look in our node modules and see what it's actually called? Remix.
Oh, we're missing the Remix run and all that stuff, right? These need to be installed separately. Adam says, I think the request response types on native. But what is native? We're running a node. Are they just node requests then types? I think that's the because native always depends where you're running, right? Like if you're running on the edge, but I guess you're not. Are you just running on node? Maybe.
We could fix types later. We could do
Cannot.
We could make everything any and move on.
No, because once you have the types, like it gets so much easier to actually code because you're just kind of auto completing.
Sure.
So do we need to install Remix run separately? I guess so,
right? Can we not just dig into Remix from here?
No, but it's separate packages, right? Remix, let me see. Remix packages, okay. Yeah, so Remix run React, Remix run Cloudflare, Remix run Node.
Do these just come in when you install Remix though? Like if we, let's have a look. Import from. Okay, right. Yeah, cool. We already have them. So now if we were to pull in from Remix, not native, Remix node.
And then does that have a request type? Yeah, it does, right?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay, cool. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Is it called rec or is it called request?
No, sorry. So what we want, is an object of request response.
We don't get a response. You get no response.
But we get a type. We get a response type. So even though we don't pass it in, well, we probably pass in a new we probably, yeah. So we do have a
Well,
response.
this function isn't actually using the response at all.
Yeah. So we don't actually need it.
No. So let's forget about
Okay.
responses. Forget they ever existed.
Okay.
Let's just stay quiet about responses. So get server side props context. So this would be the context that.
Does it have no, because we don't have server side props, different context. So literally the only thing you pass in is that request, but as an object in case there's some yeah, context. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that works. If we want to call it context. Yeah. Cool.
Sweet. And then if
but now you called it request. So just call the request REQ up in the, yeah. And then let's see. And then we can go. Yeah, sweet. So how do we access the cookies in a remix request?
We are going to pull up a version of my level up tutorials course where we did just this. Because I think the auth helpers, the whole idea of the auth helpers actually came out of when I was building this remix course, and we were basically just rebuilding a whole bunch of stuff that we had already built in Next.js, and we realized, hey, we should probably extract these out into some auth helpers that, so like with auth required, for example, is very similar. Yeah. So we can do context.request. So it's called request when it comes from Remix. It's not called rec. So we probably should just make it request. So it
no, that's fine. It's just an internal variable. But I mean, if it makes you feel better,
it makes me feel better, yeah. But in the other one, aren't we just passing the whole context into this function? So then wouldn't like yeah. Anyway, this is how we get.
So wait, do you actually have a context?
And so context is what automatically gets passed in. So if I was using this with auth required in my, where would I be using it? So I'm using this here, and yeah, and so this is just like calling this function as my loader. Whoops. And so it's automatically getting passed
a context.
Yeah. Oh, right. Sorry. This is my loader that I'm specifying that I want to run. And the with auth required function takes in the function that I actually want to run. And then this is what Remix automatically provides. So it passes in just a context object.
And what's the context? Do we know? Oh,
no, this is the free land of JavaScript, my friend. But yes, so we can get session is something that I declared here. Yeah, so we can call this create session storage function on the Remix side, and this gives us a get session, commit session, and destroy session function, which we can use to get the session from the cookie, create and destroy a cookie. So yeah, so I think that, well, actually, is that what we're doing over here? Here we're getting the access token. Anyway, we can get it by saying, I'm going to put these next to each other.
There's an entry context. Is that the context?
Is what the context?
So Remix run node has an entry context type, but I'm not sure if it's the right Remix context request. Okay. I probably need to know more about Remix.
So
Loader context. Okay.
Remix run / server runtime. Thor, can you hear me?
Sorry. I'm just doing my Remix learning now.
Okay. Are you just watching through my level up tutorials course while we're on the stream?
How's the TypeScript in there?
Conveniently non-existent. So is this for Dev, Express, Node, React Serve, or server runtime?
I think Node.
With these loader functions.
Yeah, and then I think there was an entry context, but I'm not sure if the type is called entry context, I think. Maybe not. Yeah.
Anyway, let's not let TypeScript ruin our stream like usual, and just keep powering ahead. So we've got some context. We pull out the request. That's of type request. We can then get the cookie. Oh yeah, right. So this is just getting the cookie headers. So I guess we want the specific cookie though, don't we? Anyway, if we don't have that, we're not able to pass the cookies. And then we have our cookie options. We have our token refresh margin. So is this just the amount of time until we need to refresh? Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. And then this is where we'll need to actually pull out what is inside the cookies. So I guess we need to make a call. Are we going to use these functions that we get from Remix? So Remix has this function called create cookie session storage, and that takes in all of the parameters, and then it gives us back these convenience functions, which I feel like we're probably about to rewrite, right? Because we need the way to commit a session, which is going to create a new cookie and set it in the response headers and get session. So pulling that out of the request.
Gotcha. How do we read the cookie?
By calling get session and passing it in. Where have I done that? Get session. So this is a function we get from Remix. Oh, that's if we want to set. Yeah, so we just pass in all of the cookies that come through in the headers to get session, and we will get back our, because these functions are specific to the cookie that we're creating here, anytime we call get session and pass it in the collection of headers, the cookie headers, the cookies from in, and we get back our specific cookie that we've created here. So this will be our Supabase or SB token cookie or whatever it's called.
All right. Okay, maybe have a look how we're doing the cookies in Next.js and Svelte.
All right, I'm making a call. We're going to call get session here, and we're going to give it our context request headers get cookie. So we need to declare that somewhere, which we'll do soon. And if we don't have an access token at that point, then we want to throw an error. Oh, did I have an extra something somewhere? I need one of these. if we don't have an access token, we throw an error. Otherwise, we want to pull out the JWT user. So yeah, a lot of this we might, we might want to rewrite once my brain is working as to how we do it in Remix, because I think we'll get a lot of this maybe for free. So if we want to do get user, that's going to be the same. So yeah, I'm wondering whether we want to replace these like set cookies function. So these are all in the shared
Yeah.
package Auth helpers.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if Remix has some fancy cookie methods, yeah, it's just in the source there.
So right, so we do all of that cookie stuff.
Yeah, which I guess is built in. You said built into Remix.
Yeah, so I'm wondering whether we can just call something like serialize. I'm just thinking it would be good because, like in the course on Level Up, we are specifying all of those values manually. So if all of this stuff already exists somewhere, like here, serialized cookie, we pass in a cookie, and that already has all of this stuff. But yeah, we can probably find out a way to merge these so that we don't need to rewrite all of it. So we can use the Remix helpers, but also not rewrite all of these values again. Yeah. Makes sense to me. All right. So how about we look for something we can actually implement now, and then we'll go and do some more investigation.
Yeah, I mean the cookie stuff is pretty crucial. So I think that's kind of the heart of it. So if we can figure that out.
All right. So what's our JWT decoder? So that's something.
Yeah,
so we've
that is
written that function
using
as well.
Jose to like decode the the value of the JWT as a JSON. Is that something that Remix has built in?
Let's have a look. This is all just types. I keep. All right, so this is all in cookies. So we have a JWT.
It's in JWT underneath utils JWT. Yeah.
Takes in a big JWT string and calls decode from Jose. So yeah, so that just gives you back the object. So that's kind of what get session is doing. Let me have a look. So get session, we get back a session. Where am I using this? Right, and then you can call get methods to pull out the bits that you actually care about. So yeah, so we might also rewrite that part.
No,
So,
the JWT decoder is fine. You basically just pass the access token in there, and then you get JSON back. So it just means that we're not calling the Supabase API every time, because you then have the Supabase Auth API get user, right? Which actually makes an API request. But we can just decode the, yeah. So as soon as we have the access token, we just pop that in and we should be good.
cool. So we would, because this gives us back a full session when we call get session and pass in all of those cookie headers. So then we would pull out the access token by saying session.get access token, and then we would pass that through to our JWT decoder, and then cool. So then this would be our user. So if they have an expiry, or if they don't have an expiry, sorry, then we say we're not able to pass it. Otherwise, we make sure that the expiry is less than when the JWT was created plus our refresh margin. And then the access token is pulled out of get user.
Yeah, so get user is kind of the central place that does the token refreshing. And so basically, if it is expired, so we're decoding the JWT, we're looking, is the JWT expired? If it is expired, we're calling get user, which automatically does the refreshing.
I'm just realizing this is why it was access underscore token, because down here we're declaring a new variable called access camel case token.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, okay. So then we pass in the context, which I guess will be a different shape is the problem that this is having.
Yeah,
so we'll
we need to update the
shape of
method
that differently. Yeah. Cool. All right. So this file should be all good. We'll just need to,
import the get session.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll worry about that soon. All right.
Is get session not from Remix, or we need to define it ourselves?
So when you create the cookie, this one. So you call this create cookie session storage. So somewhere we need to work out where we're going to call this. So maybe just abstract this into, well, let's just do this. All right. Doing it. We're going to create a utils
cookies, yeah.
Cookies.ts.
Come on, get on board. It gets so much easier once you find the right types.
Yeah, it's just finding the right types that takes so long. All right, so this is saying that Remix has no exported member for that, because we're probably importing this from @remix run /
server?
Create. This should be probably Node.
No.
Server. Nailed it. Does someone in the chat want to explain what is the difference between the different exported packages? So what is the server runtime versus Node? Yeah, because I guess isn't Node the server runtime?
Yeah, well.
Anyway. So we have this create session.
We probably should get Kent on the
let's
stream.
get Kent on.
And that would get a lot better. What time is it in Salt Lake City? Oh, where is he?
Yeah.
But no, actually, maybe we should just reach out to him and ask if we can do a stream, and we can ask all the stupid Remix questions.
We could.
That sounds like a great idea.
That is a good idea. All right. So then so now we can pull in get session from our utils. /cookies.
Okay, we got Adam here. Adam server runtime appears to have common server utils, and the other adapters adapt to the handler signatures of those platforms. Okay. I guess because it does do Cloudflare and edgy stuff, and so, okay. Sounds good.
All right, TypeScript saved me. It's good. You win.
There we go.
It just saved us hours of pain with that very convenient little red squiggle that I was seeing here. And I was like, I want to get rid of that because it's a red squiggle. Why is it a red squiggle? And I highlighted over it. It says this doesn't exist on promise. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. Because this needs to await. And then it was like, nope, you didn't get it right. And I was like, what do you mean? And then I realized that we need to get session an asynchronous function. So we need to await the response that comes back from that when we pass in the headers. And then we have session.get. Thank you, TypeScript. I love you, TypeScript.
Slowly but surely.
Every stream, I start the stream being like, TypeScript always getting in the way. And by the end of every stream, it's I'm in love with it again. Oh, sorry, I was just pulling that up to say, so yeah, the common server utils. Or did you already say this?
Oh yeah,
I was focused on something else. All right, cool. I was.
But I mean,
I was working on my relationship with TypeScript.
I wasn't sure what those platforms exactly means.
Right. Okay, cool. So this makes this a little bit easier. So we can get the session, we can pull out the access token. And so that access token will be, yeah, I guess this cookie. Why is it called access token here? Well, that's what I want to
know. Well, because session guest access token.
Let's have a look here. So access token.
Because you're calling session.set.
Okay. So when we actually write the okay, cool. So then, yeah, so this is, we create a fresh session. We set the access token to be the access token that we actually got from Supabase. So this will be when we're actually when we're setting the cookie to the response, because then here we're sending back that as the headers. Cool. All right. So this will get access token is because that's what we'll be pulling it out as. But in this get access token part, this would be after we have set that cookie. So this is us reading the cookie from the request, but we haven't written the part where we write or set the cookie as the response, which then gets sent back with each request. So we're just doing it backwards. We're doing the end part first. But yeah, cool. So let's look at get user. Wait, what's the red?
Yeah, it's a context from the get user. So once we fix that, it should be fine. Right. So I think same shebang.
No, what was it called?
Request from node, yeah.
Request, and then down here we just have a...
Yeah, same again, requests. Context is an object of request to request.
User options, that's all good. Everything else is all good. So if...
So this is running on the server, so it should be fine just doing process.env.
Cool. So if we don't have a Supabase URL or we don't have an anon key, then we want to throw a helpful message saying, give us those. This will also be similar to our if statement for this one, right?
Yeah, yeah. This one. Pretty much the same.
Is it all gonna be? So we got that, and then I know we just start creating a client. So Cool. And then we want to create our Supabase client with these two. And then we have our cookie options, our refresh margin, and we want to get the access token and the refresh token in the same way. So we will do this.
Just from the session, yeah.
Oh, sorry, we just need this bit. Should we do that? Guess we should check whether we actually have it right. Oh, that's what that's doing. Way ahead of me. But yeah, so we'll also be pulling out the refresh token. So we'll need to set that when we're cookies. Then we need, so we get rid of this. Now we call JWT decoder with our access token, and then that's all good. And then if we need to force refresh, then this is all magically happening on Supabase's side. So here, so this is where we will need to divert our logic again, because we don't have a response.
Well, we will need to pass the response in it.
Okay, so we need to create
so
a new
basically at the point that we create the response, we need to create it. So basically that will be in our handler, I guess. We're creating a new response, and then we will need to pass the response to the function. Yeah. No, it's just response. You can get it from the node upstairs.
All right.
Look, so nice. They include
look at that.
Time.
Things aren't even getting in my way. This is beautiful. What is it? No, all right, fine. Cool. So we need to pull in get session as well. Okay, so this will be context.request. Why do I keep spelling it without a U?
Yeah, although I mean the question is, since we're not using actually the common set cookie method, right? We probably don't actually need the response adapters. So basically the idea of the response adapters was that we iron out the differences in request and response types to work with the set cookie method. But it seems like with Remix, it is so conveniently different that it probably doesn't actually make sense. Although we probably could. No, I guess we follow the Remix way of cookies.
Yeah, so then this would be this stuff, right? So we would create a session, we would set the access token, we would commit the session.
So what does that actually do? Because then you're just setting the session as a cookie header. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, so then when we return the response, we're setting the set cookie header as being that cookie that we have created. So the cookie is just that big long cookie string. That's what we get back from commit session. So commit session just takes in all of the different, like the big object of different values that we would like to commit, which is these ones. And when we call commit session, that just gives us back a big long string of what we want to set as the headers. and then
Okay. So I think that just does kind of what the cookie serialized cookie stuff does, and it just is kind of built in, which is nice. Yeah, that's nice.
So I don't know how we do.
Oh, and yeah, Adam clarifies. Yeah, the request handler signatures for Express, Node, Cloudflare, blah. Yeah, that makes sense. Sweet. Thanks, Adam.
So this doesn't.
What's that?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you like set a header on the response, because the shape of the response would be like one of these. Does this?
Is it response.headers.set?
Perhaps. TypeScript be helping me out here.
Cannot find name response.
But this should be linking to this response. This is this is context.response, of course.
Oh yes, context.response.
All right, so let's get rid of that. Let's say context.response dot set headers dot. Look at God, TypeScript is good.
Huh?
I love TypeScript. This one will be our access token.
No, it's just cookie, right?
Cookie.
Or set, or what is the header called? Set cookie.
Set cookie.
There you got it. Yes.
And that is set to our new cookie.
Nice.
And then this was just what we were returning anyway, so that's all good. Otherwise, we do get user and cool.
And the commit session came from our cookies utils, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
And then our access token. This should be underscore.
No, I think it was data, because it's coming from the data, right?
Oh,
so
right.
Double check how I had it.
Data.access token. So this one.
Was that it?
Because that's what we're returning from the function.
Yeah, Oops. That should be it. So because the thing is, we're refreshing the token, and
this is the new token that's being created.
This is the new token, and we want to set that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So does that mean we would get back a refresh token as well?
Yes. So we also need to set the refresh token. Yes, correct. Sweet.
This is easy.
You see, once you have the types, it's just auto tap, auto complete.
Cool. So we want to set the refresh token, and then this commits the session, so that just gives us back the cookie string. So yeah, all of that should work perfectly.
In theory, yeah.
In theory. Our goal for this stream is not to get something working, but just to get rid of all the red squiggles. If there are no red squiggles, we've done our job.
Then it must work.
Yeah. So up here, we're passing in a request, and now we're passing in a response to get user. So over in this one, which I can see because it was red, we need to create a. So we probably want this to be...
we just need the response. So up in your function definition. No. Because you have your context being passed in, right? And you just need the response there as well.
Right. We will have created this higher. For some reason, I was thinking we would be creating this in here, but we would be creating this in our actual loader.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're basically just to all these methods, which is always passing the request response, and the response was created in the loader, and then you just need to pass the context to get user. Sweet.
And then this is no longer red, which means we have done our job, and that user in at Supabase. So this is where we are actually creating our Supabase client, right? So
Yeah,
what's
and the reason we're
behind
doing
why we're creating this?
Yeah, so if you see there, we pass some options to the create client, specifically auto refresh token false and persist session false. And so this is exactly that, where, if you use it by default, client side, it will persist the session in local storage, and then it will also automatically refresh the token from the client, calling the go-to server to refresh the token when it expires. But since you saw we're now doing the server side with the cookie values, we actually want the client to not do that. And so, that's why we're creating the client with auto refresh token false and persist session false.
So does this mean this client will never use local storage? This client will only ever do server-side cookie stuff? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we're already done. This one was just a simple find and replace, removing next_public_. So
great.
That was easy as.
Then I think we can do the Supabase server client, which is probably roughly the same. No, it does need a context. Yeah, because it's pulling out the access token. Oh yeah, I think this is a nice one. I think it's just the same.
So we'll be getting a request, which will be a request. We'll be getting a response, which will be
spell
a
it
response. And then that will all be the same.
I think we might actually not need the response. So in this case, we actually only need the request, and just spell the request correctly. And then...
That's what you're saying. Spell it correctly up here. Yeah. I getcha.
That's the blue squiggles.
Yeah, the blue squiggles mean my fault. The red squiggles mean TypeScript's fault. All right, cool. So I need to do the same thing as these ones. Wait.
Oh, where are you actually setting the cookie name?
So again, we just pull it out in the same way as all of these other ones.
From the cookie helpers, right? Is that the cookies utils?
Yeah. So we need to make sure that. Wait. So rather than throwing an error here, we are returning the Supabase client. So if we can't actually get, if we don't have,
so just if we don't have any cookie, we just return
the unauthenticated client, right? So this is like using an anon key. And then if not, then we want to do getting our access token logic. Oh, we're not actually using cookie options.
Yeah, so I think in this case, the cookie options will only go to the cookie utils.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Okay. So we don't need that one. But we need...
Because you get that kind of centralized.
Refresh token, so we get our access token. And then Supabase client, we're calling auth.setAuth and giving it our having a problem because this is not an async function, which means Is this smart enough to know something?
Wait,
like,
why is it async?
Our get session function is returns a promise.
Why? Is that the cookies? Does it?
Yeah, this gives you, so it's a promise that gives you back the session.
Huh. That's annoying. Anyway, okay.
Is that going to break everything?
No, it's just it seems unnecessary because anyway, okay. That's one to note down for Kent.
Yeah, so
you just make it async and make it return a promise.
And then when we're returning a promise, can we tell it what it's? Can we just say that it then gives us a Supabase client after it resolves? Is that how you do it?
That's it.
TypeScript. Beautiful. And we need to import get session. These. Need this stuff. It actually did.
And then I think you can get rid of the cookie options because.
So we don't. Do we actually need to even import request and response from Remix?
Yeah, just the type.
Using standard. They're using a standard interface for just built-in fetch, right? So I'm not sure we actually need.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
okay. I think that's what Adam was saying earlier. The real Alistair just joined.
The real Alistair. Now he's just signed in twice.
Well, and conveniently, Homie Coda has disappeared.
How convenient.
How convenient.
We see you, Alistair. We know what's going on.
Okay, so I mean, request response. Yeah, then maybe it's just a native. Okay, the native fetch, whatever runtime. So if you get rid of it, it just works.
Remix uses the platform.
But does it give any?
It doesn't give us context. So, what's the problem here? Because then we're explicitly saying, okay, one's a node. Okay, never mind. We do need it. So it's not just the fetch one. All right.
Well, or we just need to get rid of it everywhere.
All right, let's do that because we don't want to add things we don't need. So this shouldn't actually need that type, and then this shouldn't actually need that type, and then this shouldn't actually doesn't use it anyway, and this one doesn't use it, and now we're back to all green, and we don't need to have extra types that we need to pull in unnecessarily. Thank you, TypeScript. I love you, TypeScript. Cool. And that all works.
I guess we get both Alistairs in there now.
How convenient. All right. Well, we have like 25 minutes, so we can keep powering on. So this is with API auth. So yeah, so this is where things.
I feel like maybe we actually skip those. I think what would be awesome if we figure out the handler for like setting the cookie. So we've now done kind of the ones where we actually read the cookie, and then maybe that's a callback. So yeah. All right. Let's do it. So I guess
we can get rid of these, and these are going to be a request is all we get from the actual. I'm going to fix this spelling. Which is just going to be a request, and then we're going to create the response ourselves, right?
No, so that's that will happen in the auth. So if you look at the orchestration, if you look at actually the auth.ts, maybe let's do that first. So
Right.
this is basically an orchestration that handles, if you look at the switch, it basically handles the routing. This is like the catch-all handler, basically. And so it just handles basically, because we're creating this catch-all route for like API/auth, and then we're just having a switch. And so we do.
Maybe let's do this now then while we're here, because we won't. So this is the point where we won't get a response when we're calling this handle auth function. So sorry, to give people some context as to what we're talking about. If we look at so this is like the outermost part where we're actually going to interface this handle auth function, is where it all glues together. And so this is where we're just going to do something like export default. So this will be like our loader is calling handle auth. And so we are just getting whatever our loader or our action would pass to us by default. And then we would need to orchestrate everything that all of those functions lower down need to do all of that work. So
that's where we would create the response and then pass it to handle auth. Is that correct?
Yeah. So this one would just have a request, which is a request type. We can get rid of these.
But we also need to pass in the response that we create, right?
Yeah, so then we would need to, I guess as just a first thing, we can say const response equal new
so we're creating the response rather than the user?
Do we want the user to have to create a response?
Yeah, show me how you...
So I think I'm just using helpers that wrap it anyway in the course. So probably using a JSON helper, the only way that happens, maybe. So redirect, I think, wraps.
Yeah, so we just need a JSON response. That's it.
Cool. So then, yeah, so here we would say, you mean like this? Which comes in from... Node? No?
Probably server runtime, maybe.
Yeah. So this is going to give us back a response.
So get session is a promise because it looks like it signs, unsigns cookie values. Okay, that's nice. Well, so it seems secure. That's good.
So if we're returning whatever comes back from handle callback,
so basically what we do is we pass in the response to all these methods. The methods will modify the response and then just return it back.
And so, yeah, they'll have to return it back. And then the return from here is what returns out of our handle response auth, which is what will end up coming back from the loader or the action. Cool. So we have a request and a response and a request and a response. Yeah, we need to just modify those.
Yeah,
that's
fine.
We'll
just step through all the handlers. Yeah. And then... yeah, we need to figure out how the like catch-all stuff works and how we get like the query.
We might not necessarily want to send JSON back, right? Let's just say we want to send back. Let's just create a new response, and then we can.
And then we can set the headers and the... yeah.
Yeah. And then, so property query does not exist on type request.
Yeah, so this is basically the root of so when we do a catch-all, I think that's where we need to figure out how we do the catch-all. How do we get the name of, you know, whatever comes after API / that variable? That's what we need there.
Yeah, cool. So that comes in as like if we have the $ whatever, I need to remember. I don't know. Yeah, I think you can do catch-all routing with the file-based router. Otherwise, we might need to specify a routes folder. But I think you can just do it with $ and then maybe ... something, whatever it is. I remember seeing at some point maybe just the asterisk. But then you can grab it from params.
They call it a splat. What do they call it? A splat. Splat routes.
Yeah, splat. So the asterisk. But yeah, we can pull it out of params rather than query. But isn't query the query string rather than a parameter? Remix.
Yeah, I think we can just do params star. Where do we get the params though?
Or
do we need to pass in the params as any URL?
I think we automatically get it in the context.
It doesn't look like it. Oh yeah, context.params. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So out of request, we can just pull out params.
Right? Not request. So if we look at the context, basically, so we pass in, instead of request, we pass in an object, which is the context.
Yeah,
and then that has the request as well as the params, right?
So context.
So that's kind of where I want the...
which has a response, which is a response. And then here, this would be context.
No, the context has a request, not the response.
Yeah.
And then it also has the params. Which is an array of strings, I guess. Is that what it is?
It's an array of array. I think it's an object with key values, right? Like this. Like you pull out a key.
Oh yeah.
The string.
So it's params type object, maybe. Just do that. Or I mean, you could do any for now. Ooh, because ideally we actually want the type of that context. So somewhere we'll have to dig out the type of that context.
Import something
make
from
things a lot easier.
Remix run. What are we looking for? We're looking for params. No. All right, we'll find that later. So for now, we can just say that params is going to be an...
You want to do your lovely any hack?
Yeah, params is going to be any. I love it.
And then you just do the splat, the params star.
Star, like this. What?
Params access object with the quotations and the star, right? That's what the splat is, this one.
Like that?
Yeah, but you just call that your root. So root equals params star.
Right. Wait. Root.
And then just get rid of the let params context.
What are you talking about?
All
right, we're starting again.
Down there is a variable called root. And the root equals params star.
This one.
Yeah.
And then this was actually fine.
No, that you just remove.
So we want context.params.
Yeah. And then you need to say const root, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And then we switch on the route. If it's callback, then we call handle callback. If it's a user, we call handle user. And these are all red just because we need to go through and actually build them out. Otherwise, we want to
response 404, I guess.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
So okay. We just say return
response. And I think, how do you do it?
Oh no, not HTML. I think it's just literally just empty 404 or.
Yeah, I was just checking, but the so this is the text, and then this is what we actually do. So we say new response. Is this just a not found? Am I doing a 404? Is that right? Status 404.
Yeah, good too.
And what are we not happy about?
Oh, response is not assignable to type void.
So we just need this bit then?
No, because with Next.js it's different.
Oh, right, because you're actually modifying the response in the thing. You're not returning. No, you are returning. What am I talking about? So this should be.
Yeah, so the handlers in Next.js just return a void promise because you're basically calling response.status, which then kind of ends the response but in Remix you need to return a response. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So maybe we just change the promise void to promise response. Try that. Sweet.
Easy. And then all of this red is easy to fix. We just need to build out these functions.
Through. Yeah.
So how about we just try and fix the first one, and then we'll probably call it there and come back to this on a stream, or maybe build out more of it.
Kent on the phone next week or something.
Yeah. I like it. All right, so we have handle callback. It takes a request and a response. So then here we need to say request and response.
I think it's response.headers.set, right?
Yep.
Maybe response.status.set. Is that a thing?
Let's see. Response.status. Ooh.
Oh, just equals response.status equals, right? Yeah, to a number.
and then
4 or 5.
response.
And then just
So
return
text,
response.
status text.
Oh.
Well,
Sweet.
is that what we want?
Yeah. And then return response, I guess.
It's a read-only
Status
property.
text. So maybe is it does it response.body or response dot? Is it the body? It's the body, right?
Can we turn this
Response.body.
into a JSON object by calling response.json?
I mean, I don't know, man. Let's just do status. Oh, is status also a read only?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we could do new response.
Yeah,
like you did in the other, and then just return that.
And then the status was
4 or 5, I think.
5, and we can also set headers. Is that how we do this?
Do we need headers?
Is this? Do we need to tell it to
allow post? Yeah. I mean, why not?
like your attitude? Why not?
Why not?
That sounds like the right thing to do. Cookie options are all good. I don't think we have a request.body. Yeah.
Oh, how do we get the?
We just need to pull it out by saying request dot so we can pull out
form data
if it's form data, or we can get the body. I think it's just .json actually. .json gives us which I think is a promise, and so we can await. That's a helper function that just turns whatever the body is into a JSON object, so we can await that, which will give us the event and the session. So then we can call get user with our request and our response. And we don't need to do any of this stuff because we're doing it ourselves. Set cookies. So all of this can go, right?
Yeah, we just need to, so access token, refresh token, provider token. So maybe leave it in and then delete it afterwards. So we see kind of all the ones we need to set.
Cool. And we will get access token after our token. No, is that not what we were doing it? Maybe now get user.
Yeah, get user should have it.
And then, yeah, so we needed to set access token, refresh token, and then provider token.
But only if we have a provider token, because that's only if they logged in with an OAuth that has a provider token.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this session, will that come from our request.json? Won't this?
Yeah, because the user provider will forward the event and the session.
Oh, yeah, right. This isn't. Yeah, right. This is being called. So this is the route that's being called, the endpoint that's being called when the user signs in, like that whole flow.
So anytime there's an on-auth state changed, yeah.
Okay. Why is this red? Oh yeah.
Use before its declaration. What?
I think it's having a problem with me doing this. But we do need to create a new session.
Yeah, so we need to call it different, because basically call it remix session. So
yeah,
the session up there is the super session, and then we'll have the remix session.
Cool. So we will definitely. You're saying we will have.
Yeah, so session.access token, session.refresh token, and then I guess session question mark dot if
So
session
if we have a session dot
provider token,
the token, then that's where we want to set the provider token to be that provider token.
Yeah.
And then we want to say, I guess we still can just call that cookie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should bring these
Just
in
need
actually.
the commit session.
Import get session and commit session. And that's all this was doing, right? We're doing that.
Yeah, I believe so.
And then this reduce is just saying if we have it and push it into the stuff, which is what we're, whoa. So then handle callback.
Do we not have a context or response? We should, right?
We just have a response, I think. Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. So then again, we don't need this one.
Oh, this is basically deleting the cookie if it was a signed out or user deleted event.
That's easy because we just call destroy session.
Which we need to import.
Just imported that one. So yeah, that.
Sweet.
But it is a promise. What's this? Expected 2 arguments, but got 0.
Oh, you need to pass in the session, the remix session.
But don't I destroy?
Yeah, you need to pass in the remix session.
Good call. Remix session, but we don't have that because that gets created here. So I guess, Or can't we just do this? We get the remix session and we destroy it. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. That's just an empty session. What do we actually want to do here?
No. Get session gets the session, right?
Yeah. Thank you, remix. That's much easier. So then we want to say return
response.
New. Actually, we can just do JSON again. Oops. JSON. And oh wait, that is just.
We just return the response, no?
Yeah.
No, not new response, because we need the response where we set the cookie.
Oh yeah, right, of course. Return. I assume that would just default to 200, right? That'd be fine. It'll be fine. Cool. And we didn't.
Where do we create the response? In the auth, right? Auth.ts.
So we created just an empty response.
Okay, so we could probably create that with status 200. So basically, only when successful, then this is the response we return. And if we have any errors, we return a new response with a different status, right? So we can maybe do that.
But then this would always get.
No, just say null, right? But then we need to, how do we set the JSON? We can do response.
So we could just return a new response from these where it's just, wait, does that make sense?
We cannot, because we need the response that has the cookie on it. So, but what do I return? It only needs a cookie. Does it actually need any text? Yeah, the user one needs a JSON. So we can do response.body or something and set that. How do we set a response?
No. Remember, they were all read-only things, so we need to create a new response object.
No, that cannot be right.
All right. How about we work this one out off stream and wrap it up there?
Yeah. On set headers, set. We can set the headers. Like there should be a way to set the response body. Remix documentation.
Body is a readable stream, so that I'm assuming that doesn't have a set or anything on it. That's the same as.
Okay, what does response give us? JSON, what's that?
Well, that's gives us a promise back.
Okay, what else do we have? Response dash clone form data.
All right. How about we leave it there? We'll do some more research into responses and things because, I'm sure there's an easy way to do it, and we'll work it out. And then, do we want to stream the next one as well? Stream, because then we'll actually be kind of finishing them off.
Return JSON. What's the JSON method?
So the JSON. I mean the JSON.
But JSON returns a new response in itself, right?
Yeah.
That's a bit okay. I think we need Kent on this stream because they try to make everything so convenient that if you try to break out of the convenience, you're kind of a bit stuck. So
we need to just stop being the problem. Stop just conform and do things
No, I think I really like the idea to see if we can get Kent on it and actually do it the right way. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, next stream.
Awesome.
And we'll step through the remainder of this.
And
but yeah,
we
thanks
learned
everyone
a lot.
in the chat.
Adam, Hammy Coder. Sweet.
Awesome. And we will. Yeah, are we gonna stream again next week, or are we going to?
Well, I'm in the States next week, so it might be difficult. But let's see what Kent says, and then.
Well, yeah, maybe you and Kent can stream. Building out
actually.
the remainder of this.
That could work. Sweet.
All right, cool. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Kent and Thor will see you next week. We promise.